All right, Keith, thank you so much for joining me on the Biscuit Blitz. I really appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so before I start the clock, I just want you to tell our viewers who you are, how long you've lived in Charlotte, and a summary of what you do.
So, Dr. Keith Cradle, I've been in Charlotte, man, for probably almost 27 years. Got here fairly young, went to Johnson C. Smith University. Currently, I'm the Director of Youth and Juvenile Services for the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. And I also host my own podcast, Crafted With Cradle. I'm a huge art advocate, so on the board for the Beckler, and just try to, live the best life I can, one day at a time.
Beautiful. That's a great summary, and we'll try to touch on some of that in the next 5 minutes here. So I'm going to start the clock, and let's start right off the bat with your work as the Director of Youth and Juvenile Programs for Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. How has that work been impacted, perhaps both by the pandemic, but also by the growth of the Black Lives Matter movement and the related protests in Charlotte? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So that's a great question. So as it pertains to the pandemic, the sheriff's office can't close. We don't shut down. I've been fortunate and blessed to have a staff of folk who are literally coming to work every day, taking care of those kids, their needs, making sure their families recognize that they're safe. I tell people all the time, jail is a terrible place to be, even more so during something like this. And so if my staff can provide any comfort, any level to ease the angst of those parents and those children, they're doing that. I talked to them the other day and I said, the building's on fire and you all are running inside, and you can't buy that kind of loyalty. These are folk who genuinely love their jobs, and I'm just honored to be the director of a staff of folk that I can look at every day and say, man, you guys rock, and they're doing the work that a lot of people don't want to do. And so it's just an awesome honor to be with them. But we are taking care of those kids every day the best way we can. And so our services, quote unquote, haven't been impacted per se, because again, we're there every day, but we just don't have the level of service that we normally would have from outside volunteers, contractors, folk coming out, in and out of the facility, because we had to kind of shut that down.
Yeah. Well, I love that work that you're doing with the jail arts program through the Beckler. Has that been impacted? I've seen some of the work that's come out of that program. It's beautiful, powerful work. Where does that initiative stand these days?
So like all our other, outside programs, we had to shut down the access to the Beckler themselves, but the Beckler has been awesome in terms of bringing over art kits for the kids. So, shout out to the Beckler. I know I'm on the board, so I'm a little jaded, but they put together these amazing art kits. So the kids have an opportunity to create, draw, paint. And they made some Father's Day cards, all from these packages that were dropped off. So while we don't have the teaching artists inside the facility, folks such as myself and other staff members are walking through some of these art-based programs the best way we can. I probably couldn't draw a stick figure, but we're gonna make do what we got until we can let folk back in.
Well, so you've mentioned obviously your service on the boards of a lot of different arts organizations in town, and other important organizations that aren't necessarily arts. But you said the Beckler, Art Pop, Inspire the Fire, Carolina Voices, etc. So for the boards that you're on right now, how have the conversations been? What have the conversations been like at the board level in the midst of this crisis and this surreal time?
So it would really depend on the organization and what they do. But for many of them, it's really about, rolling out and preparing for phase 3. Primarily the Beckler is waiting on phase 3 announcements so they can start having an opening, getting the public back in. On the other side, for smaller organizations, such as, maybe Art Pop, I'm serving with Hugh House as well. These organizations are really looking at trying to build confidence in folk to get back out, whether that's buying tickets, that's going to a gallery. We really have to find a way to get people, revved up, excited, but again, having the confidence to get back out there because of everything that they know, everything that they've seen. And so that's what boards are talking about. Of course, revenue has been impacted. How do you make that up? Galas have been canceled. Doors have been closed almost, going on 3+ months. And so you're trying to figure out a way not only to galvanize the community to re-engage, but how do you make up those losses, when you open those doors back up?
Yeah, big conversations. And I'm sure the sort of roller coaster around the RNC has also been a part of those conversations. An influx of people into the city was both a scary thing and a somewhat of a hopeful thing for businesses and organizations that were depending on sort of visitors and people that could come patronize. Have those been parts of the conversation, the push and pull of, you know, the pros and cons of the RNC having been here and now not being here?
A little bit, because, you know, some of those spaces would have been rented as event spaces. And so you take that off the table, and yeah, now you have to kind of double back and think about where would that revenue have come from, or where is it going to come from? And then again, you're talking about the patronage of the folks. So while you don't even have walk-in traffic or people exercising their memberships, now you don't even have folks renting out the facility spaces that normally would take up those margins.
So let's end with a little bit about your podcast. Final question, Crafted with Cradle. Where does the podcast stand right now? What's next for it? Tell our viewers what it's all about.
So Crafted with Cradle is a podcast that I do with my good friend Jamaica and Chuck. They're the producers. It is what we say, curated conversations over cocktails with some of Charlotte art's finest. And so we've normally done the podcast here, you know, in my home. And so we actually had 2 episodes taped before everything just went, you know, to hell. And then we had to pivot, and we started doing online live versions, virtual versions on my Instagram page at Crafted with Cradle. We're going to continue to do the live. We felt that, hey, you know, we've gotten a lot of engagement from it. It's fun, and it's kind of short, just like the Blitz. You know, I don't have to sit for an hour and a half, you know, talking to someone. But we are going to return to the normal format probably in August. We taped an episode, just myself, talking about what we're going to be doing. And so now we have a roadmap. Again, trying to get folk comfortable. If people don't want to do it at my home, we'll have to find a place where we can, you know, social distance. But we will get the show going back in its normal format in August, but continuing with the live version.
Well, we will help promote it. We want more and more people laying their eyes and their ears on the work that you're putting out there in the community. Bonus question. I'm going rogue. One bonus question. Who is another charlatan that you think I should blitz in this series?
Man, there are so many.
I know, right?
And I'm quite sure you probably had all the people on that I would be thinking of.
No,
but I would say probably Janelle Dunlap.
Oh, Janelle, yeah. We have not blitzed her yet. She is an amazing, beautiful charlatan.
Yes.
We're putting her on the list. That's a great.
There you go.
All right. Well, Dr. Cradle, thank you so much for spending a few minutes getting blitzed with us here. I really, really appreciate it. And thanks for all the amazing work you're doing out there in the community on so many different levels, from arts and creativity to your work with the jail system and everything in between. You're an incredible charlatan, and we're grateful for everything you're doing.
Thank you, man. You keep up the great work too.
Thank you.